I woke up to the sound of my own breath catching in my throat, the kind that comes when your body knows something is wrong before your mind does. The room felt different, too warm, too full. Then I saw her. A woman sitting on the edge of my bed, wrapped in my old gray hoodie like it belonged to her, watching the window as if dawn owed her an explanation. Before I could speak, before I could even sit up, she turned and said calmly, almost gently, "I'm just staying here for one night." And in that moment, I understood something terrifying and irresistible at the same time. Whatever story had brought her into my room was not going to let me go easily. I asked the obvious questions in my head before any of them reached my mouth. Who are you? How did you get in? Why here? But the way she looked at me, tired eyes, steady voice, hands clasped like she was holding herself together, made me swallow them back. She told me her name was Mira. She said she hadn't broken in. She said my door was unlocked. That part was true. I always left it that way, a quiet protest against a world that had already taken too much from me. She said she needed a place to breathe for one night, just one, and tomorrow she would be gone like this never happened. I should have told her to leave. Instead, I made coffee. We sat across from each other at the small kitchen table as the sun climbed higher, lighting up dust in the air and the cracks in my life I'd gotten used to ignoring. She didn't drink the coffee at first. She just held the mug, letting the warmth seep into her hands. When she finally spoke again, her words came out slow and careful, like she was stepping across broken glass. She had been running, not from the law, not from danger the way movies make it look, but from a life that had shrunk around her until she could barely recognize herself inside it. A marriage that felt like a locked room. A job that praised her silence more than her skill. A family that told her endurance was the same thing as love. I told her I understood more than she probably expected. That my wife had left 3 years earlier, not in anger but in exhaustion. That I'd learned how loneliness could sit beside you on the couch and feel heavier than another person ever could. We laughed once, awkwardly, at how strange it was to say these things to a stranger. But the laughter faded into something quieter, something real. Time passed without either of us noticing. Morning turned into afternoon, and the promise of one night started to feel less like a rule and more like a fragile wish. The challenge came when reality knocked, loud and unforgiving. Her phone buzzed again and again on the table, the screen lighting up with a name she wouldn't let me see. Each vibration made her flinch. She admitted she was supposed to go back. That this escape wasn't brave, just delayed. I wanted to tell her to stay. The words pressed against my chest, heavy and selfish. But I saw the war in her eyes, the pull between fear and freedom, and I knew this wasn't about me saving her. It was about her deciding whether she could save herself. That night, she slept in my bed and I slept on the couch, the ceiling fan humming like a question with no answer. I didn't touch her. I didn't need to. The intimacy was already there, floating in the air between us, stitched together by shared silence and unspoken understanding. Before sleep took me, I wondered if some people come into your life not to stay, but to wake you up. I woke before dawn again, heart racing, already knowing the room would be empty. But she was still there, standing by the door with her bag in her hand, eyes shining in the low light. She said my name softly, like it mattered. And this time, the hook sank deeper, because I knew this goodbye would change something in me whether she left or not. She didn't apologize for coming into my life uninvited. Instead, she thanked me for not asking her to explain herself before she was ready, for making coffee, for listening without trying to fix her. She told me she had decided to leave, but not back to the life she ran from. She had a sister in another city, a job lead she'd been too afraid to take before. One night, she said, was enough to remind her she was still allowed to choose. I walked her to the door, the hallway suddenly feeling like the edge of something enormous. I wanted to tell her she had given me something too, that after years of surviving on autopilot, her presence had cracked something open in me. That I remembered what it felt like to connect without expectation. Instead, I said something simpler, something truer. I told her I hoped she'd build a life that felt like hers. She paused, hand on the door, and looked back at me with a small, brave smile. You already helped me do that, she said. Then she was gone. The room felt empty again, but not hollow. The air was different, charged with possibility instead of regret. I locked the door for the first time in years, not because I was afraid, but because I finally understood that letting people in was a choice, not an accident. I cleaned the mugs, folded the hoodie she'd worn, and sat by the window watching the city wake up. That one night didn't give me love or answers or a new beginning wrapped in certainty. What it gave me was better. It reminded me that even in the most ordinary moments, waking up confused, sharing coffee with a stranger, listening without judgment, we can change each other's direction. Some people arrive without warning, stay just long enough to matter, and leave you stronger than they found you. And sometimes, that is exactly the miracle you need.